Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business News Afternoon Report for Friday, the 29th of September, 2023. I'm Michael Thompson. Every afternoon, we've got the 5 stories that happened today that you need to know about, so let's get into it. Story number 1. The S&P ASX 200 closed up 0.3% today to 7,049 points. It's a nice recovery given Victoria has kicked off the long weekend and New South Wales, Queensland, ACT and South Australia will all be off on Monday. Markets will still be open though. Over the week, the market is down about 0.2% and overall it's one of the worst quarterly losses since early last year. In terms of sectors today, the best performers were metals and mining and materials. BHP was up 1.2%, Fortescue Metals up 1.3%, and Rio Tinto up 1%. Energy and healthcare suffered the biggest falls. Race Oncology was down 10.4%. In terms of companies, Bowen Coking Coal climbed 26.9%. Core Lithium was up 19.1%. It reported its first ever full year results. The Bank of Queensland is flagging that second half net profits will be hit by $79 million in restructuring costs and 250 redundancies for the second half, which partly relates to integrating ME Bank. Bank of Queensland shares slipped 1.4% today, and Westpac is also cutting another 80 jobs. It was up 0.1%. On to story number 2 now, and former Qantas boss Alan Joyce will need to face a Senate inquiry into the government's blocking of Qatar Airways' hopes to run more flights in Sydney, or potentially face prison. Now, Joyce is currently overseas and the Senate doesn't have the power to summon anyone outside the country. But the inquiry chair, Senator Bridget McKenzie, said he would be served with a summons when he returns. Now, those who don't respond to that summons can face prison time. Joyce is currently in Ireland, where his mum is reportedly very unwell. He stood down from Qantas 2 months early following a string of crises to hand the reins to new CEO Vanessa Hudson. Hudson and Chairman Richard Goyder were both at the Senate inquiry this week. It is clear that this saga is a long, long way from being over. Story number 3 begins with a quote from The Simpsons, something I thought I'd never say, and that is, won't somebody please think of the children? It's probably what Toys R Us are thinking right about now. The toy seller reported a bigger net loss this year than last year and flat revenue growth that they've said themselves is disappointing. In fiscal 2023, the net loss was $32.7 million, which was a worsening from the $24.8 million loss the year before. It's blaming high inflation and low consumer confidence. Top line revenue in Australia and New Zealand was down more than 15%. Now, we're only a few months out from that big test of consumer confidence and retail strength, Christmas, and retail figures out this week suggest that there was already a slowing last month. Story number 4, NVIDIA's French office has been raided by the French Competition Authority over suspicions the global tech giant was engaging in anti-competitive practices. It was a, quote, dawn raid, according to a press release from the French competition watchdog, whose name I'm not going to attempt to pronounce because I will butcher the pronunciation. It didn't name NVIDIA, but said that it was a raid on a company in the graphics card sector. It didn't take the Wall Street Journal long to figure out who it was. The competition body did point out that this doesn't suggest a breach of the law, and only a full investigation into the case would determine any alleged practices. It's not clear what those practices actually are. In the announcement from the organisation, a link referred to scrutiny on cloud-based computing players and competitive risks around contract clauses, pricing practices, and suppliers putting unnecessary tech and commercial barriers in place for those migrating to the cloud to strengthen their own position. NVIDIA has so far not commented. And finally, story number 5, the US company behind the smash hit video game Fortnite, God, that makes me sound old saying it like that, doesn't it? Is cutting 16% of its staff. Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney admits that they've been spending more than they earn, and his optimism that they could get through it without layoffs has been unrealistic. That is according to a copy of a memo that Bloomberg has seen. Fortnite has 400 million users, and Epic is one of the biggest privately held video game companies globally. Epic's surge in growth has been on the back of its Fortnite creator program. program. This is a structure that essentially lets players monetize their own content by building and selling within the game. Epic gives them 40% of the revenue, which is pretty generous compared to other businesses' arrangements with creative workers. But this means that this big successful part of the business has really small margins compared to other low growth sections. The tech and gaming industries have been laying off staff left, right, and centre this year, and it seems that very few are being spared. That's it for the afternoon report for Friday, the 29th of September 2023. We'll be back tomorrow morning with the weekend edition of Fear and Greed Business News. I'm Michael Thompson. Enjoy your evening.